Right. Let's jump straight into this because we are standing on the precipice of absolutely the most terrifying, high-stakes reality the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever faced. Look, we aren't just looking at some simple, run-of-the-mill continuation of Stephen Strange's journey here. Not even close. What I'm breaking down for you today is the ultimate bridge in a sprawling saga. It is literally the linchpin that holds the past 15 years of storytelling together before the whole thing shatters. So in this explainer, I'm going to take you step by step through exactly how Doctor Strange's next chapter is fundamentally designed to connect directly into the cataclysmic events of Avengers Doomsday and ultimately Secret Wars. We're going to dive deep into the dark arts, the unraveling of existence itself, and the unbelievable psychological toll of fighting a war that you simply cannot win. Guys, this is the blueprint for the end of the universe as we know it. I really need you to internalize what we are actually witnessing here. This is not just another typical superhero conflict. We're talking about the systematic and complete collapse of everything. When we really sit down and look at the trajectory of this storyline, the sheer scale of the danger is completely unprecedented. The multiverse isn't just experiencing, a few hiccups or some alternate variants running around or isolated temporal anomalies. No, it is literally breaking apart at the seams. It's a fundamental, structural failure of reality itself. It's this slow-motion catastrophe that honestly leaves zero survivors. Think about it. The very laws of physics, magic, and time are just disintegrating, completely turning the infinite canvas of creation into a rapidly shrinking cage. Okay, let's trace this domino effect chronologically, because I want to show you exactly how this fracture started and why it is rapidly spiraling so far out of control. So step one, the sacred timeline was broken. The absolute foundation of order was completely shattered by Loki and Sylvie at the Citadel at the end of time, right? That removed the cosmic dam holding back infinite branching realities. Then we hit step two, Spider-Man No Way Home. That completely blew the doors of the multiverse wide open. Realities were left completely exposed to one another, all because of a botched memory spell in New York. And finally, step three, Multiverse of Madness introduced us to the deadly, inevitable consequence of this exposure, incursions. So you see, the board has been perfectly, meticulously set for ultimate chaos. Section 1. The Multiversal Collapse. This is the quiet setup for the end of reality. I want you to think back for a second to that quiet, almost totally unnoticed moment that actually set the end of the universe into motion. At the very end of Doctor Strange's last adventure, Clea appears. She literally tears a hole right through reality, and she delivers a warning that carries apocalyptic weight. She looks Strange dead in the eye and tells him directly that his actions caused an incursion. Now, on the surface, I know it kind of just felt like a standard post-credits cliffhanger, maybe a fun nod to a comic book romance. But if we actually dig into the lore, this was the literal starting gun for the destruction of the multiverse. That single sentence doomed the universe's future, and it placed the blood of trillions squarely on the shoulders of our former Sorcerer Supreme. So by stepping into the dark dimension, Strange and Clea are leaving all earthly threats behind. They are entering a cosmic battlefield. They aren't just, jumping into another portal. They are diving headfirst into an abyss where time and space just do not operate normally. This is where the story elevates so dramatically. Strange goes from protecting a single planet from interdimensional invaders to desperately trying to hold the fragile, unraveling fabric of existence together with his bare hands. The dark dimension represents the terrifying unknown. It's a place completely beyond the laws of normal physics, and it serves as the absolute perfect launching pad for a dark, suffocating mission with infinite stakes. Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of an Incursion, or what happens when realities collide. The absolutely crucial point here is defining this terrifying phenomenon. So what is an incursion? Think of it not as a battle between invading armies, but as a fatal cosmic collision. Two entire realities are drawn together like massive magnets. They crash into each other until they completely annihilate one another, leaving absolutely nothing behind but a blank white void. Imagine, just for a second, looking up at the sky and seeing another Earth, another moon, another sun slowly descending upon yours. The atmosphere fills with blood-red skies and the sheer gravitational terror. It is the absolute erasure of trillions of lives, erasure of history, of time itself. It is the most dangerous phenomenon possible, and it's the exact threat Strange has to somehow stop. Look at the timeline I've mapped out here. I want to emphasize that this wasn't an accident. It's a meticulously built escalation toward total, irreversible chaos.
Look at how deliberately this has been structured for us over the years. We move from the theoretical breaking of time to the physical opening of borders between dimensions, and finally to the terminal diagnosis of universes literally colliding into one another. Every single step has logically and horrifyingly paved the path directly to the multiversal collapse. Guys, this is an accelerating train, and the brakes have been completely cut. So this impossible mission forces Doctor Strange to traverse these collapsing realities, desperately trying to patch a dying multiverse. Just imagine the absolute psychological burden of this task. Strange and Clea have to jump from one dying universe to another. They're basically acting as cosmic trauma surgeons, frantically trying to stop these collisions before they wipe out existence. They will arrive in realities that are already crumbling around them, filled with terrified variants of people they actually know, all screaming at a sky that is literally falling. It's a frantic race against time across infinite dimensions. The sheer mental, physical, and magical toll this is going to take on Stephen Strange, it's going to be incredibly severe. Which brings us to Section 3, the Puppet Master. Someone is controlling the chaos from the shadows. Now, the implications of this crisis completely change when we stop and ask ourselves one absolutely terrifying question. What if this destruction is entirely unnatural? Think about it. If an incursion is just a natural consequence of multiversal travel, of borders becoming too thin, well, then it's a cosmic tragedy. But what if it is being weaponized? What if someone is purposely pushing these universes together from the shadows, picking off timelines one by one? If that's true, then we are no longer dealing with a natural disaster. We are dealing with a massacre on an unimaginable multiversal scale. The stakes shift from basic survival to an all-out war against an unseen god. Just imagine the horrific realization that Strange must face as he navigates through this nightmare. He's slowly piecing together that these collapsing timelines are not accidents at all. They are intentional acts of destruction. He's traveling from dead universe to dead universe, basically investigating these massive cosmic crime scenes, sifting through the dust of annihilated realities. And suddenly, he notices a pattern, a mystical signature, a singular dark thread tying every single shattered reality together into a grand tapestry of death. The chaos isn't random, it's by design. Someone is actively hunting the multiverse. And that singular thread, it leads to one man, Doctor Doom. He is the ultimate architect behind this multiversal slaughter. He's positioning himself as the grand orchestrator of the end of times. Doom isn't just some villain who wants to conquer a single planet or rule a small country. His ambition scales to reality itself. He literally looks at infinity and decides it needs to be pruned. If every dying universe is secretly part of his grand design, it instantly elevates this entire narrative. Doom is pulling the strings of the multiverse, deliberately letting it destroy itself so he can swoop in and claim whatever is left when the dust finally settles. Section 4. A Doomed Universe. Let's explore the terrifying aftermath of Avengers Doomsday. We really need to confront a heavy, terrifying probability here. Avengers Doomsday ends in utter defeat. And this serves as the breaking point for everything. If this chapter is truly the bridge to secret wars, it means the heroes are going to throw absolutely everything they have at the problem, and just like in the desperate, agonizing fight against Thanos, they fail. They lose. The collapse cannot be stopped by punching harder or casting a stronger spell. And that profound failure, it completely changes the entire tone of the universe. We go from a tone of heroic hope to one of absolute, suffocating desperation. They will have to watch their home die. I want you to try and visualize the sheer cinematic dread of watching entire universes extinguish, one by one, into the void. It is a deeply terrifying concept to fully process. Entire realities filled with trillions of innocent lives, rich histories, and iconic heroes just blinking out of existence. The sky is burning, reality is fragmenting into glass-like shards, the stars themselves simply turning off, leaving nothing but an empty, cold white expanse. This complete systemic breakdown is the horrifying backdrop against which Doctor Strange has to operate. He is literally walking through a graveyard of existence, completely surrounded by the ghosts of dead universes. And as the multiverse breaks, the borders between dimensions vanish completely. Reality itself becomes incredibly unstable, literally folding in on itself. You have displaced heroes, terrifying variants, and villains from dead universes all bleeding into the surviving ones. It creates total, unmitigated pandemonium. Everyone is just fighting for a lifeboat in a sea of dying realities. Cities from entirely different Earths might crash into each other. The skies might turn violently purple. And trust
Trust becomes non-existent when you don't even know which alternate, broken universe the person standing next to you is originally from. This is where Doctor Strange becomes perhaps the only hero who fully understands the mechanics of this chaos. Look, most heroes operate on a planetary scale or maybe galactic, right? But Strange, he operates on a dimensional scale because he has wielded the dark arts, because he has literally dream-walked into a rotting corpse, and because he intimately understands the mechanics of an incursion. He is the only vessel capable of navigating this dying landscape. He went from being an arrogant neurosurgeon to a man burdened with the knowledge of exactly how reality dies. While the other heroes are busy fighting the symptoms of the collapse, Strange is uniquely equipped to see the actual disease. He is our lone guide through the end of times. Finally, Section 5, the Battle World Bridge, launching the ultimate crossover event. All of this builds to the darkest twist imaginable, the realization that Strange simply cannot stop the inevitable collapse. Imagine him failing. Despite all his immense power, all his sacrifices, and his forbidden knowledge of the dark arts, he has to stand there and watch the multiverse die. The tragedy here is profound. Strange, the master of the mystic arts, a man who constantly prides himself on holding the scalpel and fixing the unfixable, realizes that he is entirely powerless to stop the grand design that Doom has set in motion. The chaos spreads and the incursions consume absolutely everything. So what happens when every universe has destroyed each other? There is nothing left but an empty, infinite void, right? Well, until someone with godlike power takes the shattered, bleeding fragments of those destroyed Earths and forces them together. Let me explain Battleworld to you. It is a patchwork planet stitched together from the corpses of dead realities. It is a monument to survival, built entirely out of mass destruction. A singular, chaotic planet forged when the multiverse collapses. You have different kingdoms ruled by different variants, all trapped together on a single sphere, hanging in the absolute emptiness of what used to be the multiverse. This is the absolute cinematic crescendo. Doctor Doom rises from the destruction and creates Battleworld. He emerges from the ashes of the multiverse, completely reshaping reality in his own image. And here's the thing, he isn't just a survivor. In his twisted mind, he is the ultimate savior. While every single hero, including Strange, failed to stop the death of everything, Doom succeeds in creating a new reality where he is the undisputed God Emperor. This very moment, Doom forging Battleworld from the ruins of Strange's massive failure, is the exact horrifying trigger that launches us directly into the ultimate conflict of Secret Wars. And I have to point out, matching a director known for visceral horror like Sam Raimi with a story about the literal death of the universe is an absolute masterstroke. If Raimi returns to helm this, we aren't just getting a superhero action movie. No, we are getting a psychological, visually dark, and terrifying exploration of the end of all things. His signature horror style, the Dutch angles, the creeping dread, the grotesque imagery, it perfectly matches these dying realities and crumbling universes. It's exactly what is needed to make us, the audience, truly feel the claustrophobic dread of a collapsing multiverse. It turns a sci-fi concept into pure, unadulterated cosmic horror. So this isn't just a secret setup movie, it is the definitive beginning of the end. We've traced the harrowing path from a single broken timeline all the way to the absolute death of the multiverse and the terrifying rise of a god emperor. Every single thread, every broken rule of magic, every careless multiversal jump is connected, and our doom is being meticulously orchestrated right in front of us. Is Doctor Strange's next descent into darkness the secret bridge for Secret Wars? Honestly, it is the only bridge that matters. As we watch these multiversal threads finally weave together to form the patchwork nightmare of Battleworld, we have to ask ourselves, when the multiverse finally shatters, who will actually be left to pick up the pieces?